as a caretaker, you hold a lot of power. You do. And like that is extremely vulnerable for the disabled party. And it is so important as disabled people that we pick our partner wisely because they can exert that power over you. I have had that dynamic in previous relationships, and it's scary. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. You can use code Molly Burke for 10% off your purchase of a website or domain name. Okay, friends, we're heading back onto one of the scariest places online, Reddit. We are going onto r/Interabled dating. I think that's what it's called.
There's a few different Reddits. Like the first one is going to be r/forever alone.
Ooh, okay. Either way, we're talking about disability and dating /interabled relationships, which I happen to know a lot about as a blind woman who's 32 years old, recently engaged, and has been dating since I was 14 years old. And my sighted non-disabled fiance and I are clearly in an interabled relationship. I have dated other disabled people, I have dated neurodivergent people, and I have dated non-disabled people. So let's give it a go.
Okay, I will warn you, just like I kind of did the last time we did an episode like this, that there was like some dark stuff and then some happy stuff. Eventually I'll get into like some of the comments that people have, and at least one of them I was like oh geez, this is like a slur. I feel like this, you know. So I'm gonna be saying some things,
okay,
but we're gonna be reacting in outrage to that.
Okay.
We're not going to be, you know, so.
These people don't speak for us. We're reacting to them and their authentic lived experience. Let's get into it. I think we should start with a spicy one.
Oh, okay. I was going to like ease in.
No. I think we jump right in, feet first. I feel like I need like a glass of rosé for this.
Okay, this is kind of a spicy one. A genuine question for interabled couples.
That's us.
Oh yeah, this is r/disability.
Okay.
This is a question I think about a lot and have been wondering for a few years now. Just didn't know who to ask. Say you're the primary caretaker of your husband or wife and you guys get into an argument. Do you just not help them anymore with going to the bathroom, changing them, etc.? Obviously that's super immature, but I'm curious. Do you wait until you're not mad anymore? Or do you help, but with an attitude? And how does it feel to be the disabled party and still have to rely on someone you're angry with? I'm so curious on how this dynamic works.
Ooh, okay. So first off, it is quite common for interabled couples, for the non-disabled partner to have some level of caretaking. Not all disabled people require it, but it is common. You know, in our relationship, obviously my fiance does all of the driving. Of course, I can take Uber, but he is a loving, caring, kind partner and does not want me to have to do that. So overwhelmingly,
I could never imagine, like, even if I was blind, I could never imagine getting in an Uber with a stranger where you can't tell where they're taking you.
Yeah, I don't love it.
No.
I do try to avoid it, particularly as a woman. It's not my favorite thing. I do it. I've done it many times when I have to. But overwhelmingly, my partner doesn't want me to do that, so he often does. Not often, pretty much always drives me. I would consider that like a caretaking role. He also does all of the cooking for me. I would consider that in our relationship a level of caretaking because it's not like a shared task. It is entirely on you. He also, you know, does things like fixing my makeup or like other just little visual things like that. In other relationships, like I'm friends with Cole and Charisma and Squirmy and Grubs. They're both very vocal about the level of caretaking that Charisma and Hannah do for their husbands, which vastly differs from what our dynamic looks like, but are very common dynamics that you can see. I think overwhelmingly, I can speak on my side as the person who like needs help with things. It feels awful to need help when you're not like in a happy place. That's not just me with my partner. That could be me and my mom, me and a friend. Like whenever I need to ask for help from somebody when I know we're not in the best place, or even like I think of like when he's sick and I need help with something.
Yeah, that's the only time it sucks.
It like really, really, really sucks. It makes me feel awful. I hate it. It's the worst. And it's extremely vulnerable. So I would say like it sucks on my end, and I would say on the caretaker's end, they ultimately need to be able to like separate from the romance and like do the caretaking. And that's hard. And it's not for everybody. And that's why the dynamic doesn't work for every couple. And that's why some couples do still choose to have a separate caretaker enter the home and do that role because they don't like mixing those roles and they don't find it easy or comfortable. For other people, it really works where you can separate those things and you can be able to have both romance and caretaking coexist within one relationship. And thankfully, I've found that majority of the time that I've needed somebody to play some level of caretaking role, whether that be like my partner or my mom at times, they have been able to separate their emotions from what they need to do to support me. And at the end of the day, caretaking is a role that is done within every relationship, right? Like when your partner is sick, non-disabled, like you're both able-bodied, when your partner is sick, you should be caretaking. Like you should be willing to step up and caretake for them. And it should not matter if you're in a bad mood or if you got in a fight. I think it's important to be able to separate that from like just being able to have humanity and like support somebody in their time of need. What do you think?
Yes. There's a good comment here that I think put it well. They said, being annoyed with someone is not the same as wanting to cause them harm. If someone feels the need to, quote, punish their partner for an argument in any of these ways, it's getting into abuse territory.
That's the other thing that I was going to say is like, as a caretaker, you hold a lot of power. You do. And like, that is extremely vulnerable for the disabled party. And it is so important as disabled people that we pick our partner wisely because they can exert that power over you. I have had that dynamic in previous relationships and it's scary. And I was able to thankfully get out. And it's the reason why disabled people are at higher risk statistically to end up in abusive situations. And so I think it's so important that the caretaker understands the power they hold and actively chooses to not use it against the disabled person. And if you are in a relationship, again, disability or not, if you're in a relationship and at any time you feel the need to punish your partner, that is toxic, that is unhealthy, and punishment should never be the way we go about resolving issues with our romantic partner. Communication is how we should go about it.
Awesome. Before we move on to the next one, I'm just reading these comments to see if there's anything else. Yeah, like this person says, this thread is helping me see some past relationships differently. I didn't realize I was disabled, but I was expressing my needs and we had established some care routines, but when they were mad, they'd withhold.
Yeah, that's like, to me, like such a huge red flag and is absolutely something that I actively like look out for in the early dating stages of a relationship, and even something I had in the back of my mind when we moved in together. Like I was well aware that us traveling together to France for a week or us spending the weekend together for 3 nights was very different from us living together 24/7, and I was very clear about that before we made the choice to move in when it started to become a discussion. And I was very clear that I was concerned about how he would be able to handle it day in and day out. Obviously, we've lived together for over 2 years now. We've been together for 3.5 years. We're engaged. It's gone very well for us. But I knew that that was something that I was like conscious of going into it and communicated openly with him.
If you want to like inspire your man, you do the reverse psychology. Oh, I don't know if you can do that.
I don't know if you can handle it.
If you're like, oh, I don't know if you can fix your car, then it'll be like, watch me, hold my beer,
do it.
you know? So I think that's kind of what it was. I remember being like, and then I was like, are you kidding? I could totally do that. I could do it.
Elton's like, yes, you can, Dad. And I do too. I wasn't trying to reverse psychology you, but I guess it did work that way. Happy endings. I've been hosting my website on Squarespace for as long as I can remember at this point. But over the last year, we totally revamped it and gave it a much needed facelift. And we used one of their newest tools to help us. Design Intelligence uses cutting-edge AI to help you build a beautiful, bespoke online presence for your business or brand that fits your unique needs. All you have to do is answer a few quick questions, and then it helps generate the website for you. Of course, you're able to tweak it from there, but it really makes it so simple and seamless. And once your website is up and running, you can make money immediately by selling content. You can sell anything from courses, videos, blogs, or memberships. And then you can set up recurring revenue by putting up a paywall. Just set the price, and then you decide whether you want a one-time payment or subscription. Even if you don't make content, there are still ways to make money on Squarespace by turning any lead into paying clients, using proposals, estimates, contracts, and even invoices all through your website. So if you're ready to get building your Squarespace site, head to squarespace.com/Molly Burke to get 10% off your purchase of a website or domain name.
Okay, so here's one more. It's kind of a long-winded comment, but they had a lot to say that I think is interesting. So they said, let me put it this way. Do you lock your partner out of the house when you're in an argument?
Mm.
Do you refuse to let them eat any food in the house because you're mad at them? Do you hide all the toilet paper, toothpaste, and band-aids from your partner when you're in an argument? Do you cut up your partner's clothes and break their things when you're upset with them? I sincerely hope the response to all these questions is no, because that would be cruel and insane.
Yes.
Disabled or not, if you're in a healthy relationship, you should not feel the urge to destroy your partner or cause them suffering just because you're in an argument. At the end of the day, a relationship is you and your partner working together.
Yes to all of that. At the end of the day, any relationship can be healthy and any relationship can be toxic. It's about who you are as individuals going into that relationship and how you choose to work through issues together. We're going to sandwich this. We're going to do a lighter one now, and then we're going to do the hardest hitting one for the end.
Okay. This is r/disability. Interabled couples, how do you cope emotionally with not being able to do the same things? Here's the story. My husband of 7 years has a physical disability that makes it difficult for him to walk. No wheelchair yet, but it's likely in our future. He's had this disability all his life, so I knew about it when we started dating. But as an able-bodied person, I had no clue what I was getting into. But to be fair, no one knows what they're getting themselves into when starting a new relationship. I love my husband dearly. He's my best friend. We travel, socialize, have fun, have a life that other people envy, and we have 2 daughters. But the disability has caused him a lot of emotional trauma, like how he thought he'd never have a girlfriend because of it and lacked self-esteem. The emotional issues were so bad that I couldn't even bring up issues about disability without sending him into a depressive spiral. And we have to talk about it, like when I told him he needs to wear a stroller wrist strap when pushing our infant so she doesn't roll into traffic when he slips and falls. He falls fairly often. Luckily, he's started getting therapy and his emotional state has greatly improved. We can now talk about these things without him getting depressed. But now that he's in a better emotional state, I'm realizing how much grief I have to process about his disability. It doesn't help that I'm very physically active and love pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I go backpacking, camping, climbing, jump in puddles with the kids. I'm sad that my husband can't share these things with me. Yes, my husband often does come on camping or even hiking trips. We have to plan it really carefully and go super slow. Please don't tell me that it's possible. It's not the same as having a partner to push your limits. So my question is, how do those of you in interabled relationships cope with this? It would really help me to hear stories from you.
I think it's so important that the non-disabled person in an interabled relationship has community, right? So like we literally tonight, we're going on a double date with a couple that's interabled. And we do that often because I think it's really important that not just I, the disabled person, has community who understands my lived experience, but that also my fiance does, because his non-disabled friends who are dating non-disabled people will never understand our dynamic and his lived experience being my partner. I always say that I understand my disability doesn't just impact me, it impacts all of my loved ones. I'm glad her husband is getting therapy. It sounds like he certainly needed it. I think disability is just traumatizing. Like living as a disabled person in this world is traumatizing no matter how good your experience has been. And so I think it's really important that everybody get therapy, to be honest, but especially disabled people, because we're continually facing barriers that nobody else has to face. And it sounds like potentially he has a progressive condition, which is going to continually show up in different ways. And my own disability grief continually shows up in different ways as I have new life experiences. So I think that's very important, and it's really great that it seems to be benefiting him. It's sad for me to hear the ways in which his disability is impacting her life, because of course it is, but also like we as the disabled people feel that already. Like, I already think about all the ways your life is different because you're with me and not a sighted girl. And I'm glad she's turning to like-minded community and hopefully therapy of her own, because she did say for her it's grief and trauma, which requires therapy. Because I do think stuff like that, if you came to me, it would be really hard. I don't think her husband is the person to go to with that.
No.
Because we already, no matter how much our loved ones say we're not, we already feel like a burden. We already recognize all the ways in which we hold you back. And so for you to come and be like, yeah, you're right, would actually destroy me. And I know that there are things you probably do feel that way about, or if not now, will in the future. And that's okay and it's normal. And you deserve to feel that and talk about that. But I don't think the disabled partner is the person you talk about it with. I think other non-disabled partners, other caretakers, therapists are the people you go to. The same way I go to my disabled friends when I need to talk about issues around disability. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What do you think?
It's interesting. I've heard in a lot of like social media with interabled couples, the only message I've heard from the able-bodied person is like, oh, I don't think twice about it. It's like, it's it's no big deal. It's just our life and blah, 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 blah. And they don't like touch on the fact that it's like hard on them at all, which is like, it like taking care of someone, it's like, there's like effort involved, you know? So like at the very least, like not, I mean, with you and I, like it's not, like it's they're very small things, you know? So I kind of feel like, yeah, people ignore it or glance over it or act like it doesn't exist. So it's
I think
nice
it's
reading
because they know that we, the disabled partners, already feel it. So I think they do it to like assure us it's not true because they know we live with that so much already. And like, if they put it on the internet, we will see it. We will hear it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like a weird thing where it's like
then don't bring it up at all. Then don't talk about it. I don't know.
Yeah. But maybe some people genuinely do feel that way. Like different people have different levels of capacity. I also think she can mourn or grieve that she's not going to be able to do those things with her husband, but it doesn't mean that she can't do those things with community.
Definitely, yeah.
Like, there are things that I can't enjoy with you. You can go enjoy those with your friends.
Yeah.
Or with, join a club, or like, partners should be able to have lives outside of each other, hobbies, friends, communities, outside of each other. And I don't need to do everything with you, just like you don't need to do everything with me. We don't need to share every interest in common. And I think that's healthy. Like I have a friend who had a traumatic brain injury, and her partner loved to do long distance cycling, and she simply couldn't do that. It would really cause her a lot of pain, and she would be in bed for days afterwards. So he would go on long distance cycling trips over the weekends with his buddies, and he would do it once a month. And they just agreed, like, this isn't a thing I can do with you. So you have that once a month. You have a weekend with your friends who can do that, and I will do something else. And like, they just made that happen. And there's nothing wrong with that. We as disabled people knowing our limitations, my limitations don't have to be your limitations.
There was a comment here somewhere that I can't find now. I'm not sure if I screenshotted it, but it mentioned how like all relationships have compromise.
Yes.
Not just able-bodied or interabled relationships. And it's just the same with interabled relationships. It's just a matter of like finding the compromise, figuring out how you can like make it work. And like hopefully the things that you gain from the relationship make the compromise worth it.
Exactly.
And if it's not, then just don't be in a relationship with that person. Right. But if you feel that it is, then they're your person,
Yeah, I completely agree. You will never find a perfect person.
Yeah.
Everybody has a downside or a flaw or a thing that you might be like, somebody else wouldn't do that. But as long as the benefits outweigh the negatives, the pros outweigh the cons, then that's the right person. And at the end of the day, like, love is a choice. As much as we want to think it's just a feeling, it's a choice. It's a choice you make consistently every single day. And you choose to show up for the person that you've chosen to love every day, regardless of how hard it is.
Here's a comment that's like kind of exactly what you were saying earlier. This person says, my wife has a caregiver support group where she can lay down all her grief and frustrations about my disability without having to tell me directly. Yes. Like, it's important for you to be able to express how frustrated you feel without making your spouse feel bad about themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's that topic. Moving on to the final one.
Final spicy Reddit story of the day.
Okay, this is the r/forever alone one.
Oh, Lord.
What are your thoughts on interabled relationships? If you go on YouTube, TikTok, and Google and type interabled, you will find a bunch of videos and articles about couples in which one partner is able-bodied and the other is physically disabled. Some of these people have very serious disabilities, can't walk, and need a caregiver, and they somehow found it. Somehow. Ugh,
I was just about to say.
I mean, this whole thing is so... Yeah.
Riddled with ableism.
Yeah.
It's dripping. Okay.
Yeah. And they somehow found an able-bodied partner to date them and be their caregiver 24/7. Ugh. While some of these relationships have been accused of being fake, I doubt all of them are.
I doubt all of them are.
My God.
I doubt any of them are.
Yeah, exactly. Some of them don't seem interested in making constant videos, gathering an audience, or making money from ads. Wealth is also not a... Also, by the way, the people who are making videos all the time, it's not about... It's like there's advocacy. There's representation. Like, it's not...
Education.
Just because they're making videos all the time doesn't mean they have an ulterior motive. Like, Jesus. Can't
And
they make a video about their life when other people can vlog about their own lives and whatever their interests are?
Listen, let's just say, like, we'll use, like, Shane and Hannah, for example,
Sure.
because they've been accused of this so much. Don't you think if Hannah just wanted to be an influencer, she would just, I don't know, work on her own to be an influencer? Like, don't you think that would be easier than conning Shane and being his 24/7 caregiver, even though she didn't love him, just to build an online following, which they started at a time when being disabled on the internet wasn't like a huge niche. They were pretty early on. They started after me, but they were like pretty early on in the game. So it's like they had no guarantee this was going to work for them. Like, how crazy do you have to be to look at them? And first off, they just have incredible chemistry.
Yeah.
Like, they just vibe so well together. But, like, how insane do you have to be to think that Hannah would be that, like, desperate to build a following? That's the route she would choose to take, which would be a very uncertain route versus just her trying to make it on her own. So wild. Okay, go on.
Also, since we're bringing them up, it's worth mentioning they're such a great reference, not just because of who they are, but they literally wrote the book on Interabled.
Yes! It's literally
Molly.
behind me on the desk back here. We've got Interabled by Shane and Hannah. Check it out.
So yeah, shout out to them. Felt like that was worth it. Okay, so I'll keep reading. Wealth is also not a satisfying reason because there are plenty of able-bodied wealthy people in the world to choose from. What do you think about such relationships?
Also, most disabled
Oh
people
my God.
aren't super wealthy.
Yeah.
This is so funny and so weird. And hi, baby, I love you too. It really hits on that, like whenever I get that comment, like, she's blind and she found a man. Or like, wow, I can't even find a guy. And it's like, ew, stop. Like, that's so rude and so ableist and so gross. And like, look, if you wouldn't date a disabled person, fine, keep it to yourself. Like, not everybody is for everybody. But like, that doesn't mean everybody finds disabled people to be unlovable and detest them. It's like posts like this that make disabled people feel unlovable and then make disabled people feel like burdens when we are in relationships. Because even though, like, obviously you proposed to me, I know you don't think that way. I know other people do look at us and think that. And it's like, what an awful feeling.
There's just so much, like, ableism is the only word that comes to mind, but like, it's just crazy, like, how people like have such a hard time believing that like there can be a reason you'd love someone just because they're disabled.
And the other thing that I feel like people completely ignore is that when you sign up for marriage or for a lifelong commitment of any kind, when you decide to be in a long-term relationship, that person could get cancer. That person could get in a life-changing accident and become paralyzed or lose a limb. That person could be diagnosed with a progressive condition they didn't know they had. They could have ALS or Parkinson's. They could develop early onset dementia. A million things could happen. A million things could happen. Are you saying that you would suddenly stop loving them? That you would suddenly lose interest? That all of their other good qualities would cease to exist, that you wouldn't want to caretake for them? Because if that's the case, don't get married in sickness and in health. It's literally what you sign up for. It's what you agree to. And it's like people ignore that. You signed up knowing that the blindness was a part of the package. I don't know what's a part of the package with you. Like, something could come up, and that's something we'll have to figure out and navigate.
Yeah.
Something additional could come up for me. It's something we would have to navigate. That's what lifelong means. If you live a long life, you likely will develop a disability. Majority of disabilities are acquired through age, accident, or illness, meaning the majority of disability is not from birth like myself. So lots of these people that you're dating could develop a disability or a chronic illness, could have a completely life-altering, life-changing event happen. And you're signing up to love them anyways. Like, there's just the way we talk about all of the ways in which disabled people make great employees because of the way their disability has trained them to be, also translates to romantic relationships.
Yes.
Like, you talk about the fact that, like, with your sense of direction, like, you've often been made to feel bad about it by other people. Whereas I'm like, hey, I'll help you with it. Like, I'm really good at direction, and I'm really good at direction because I'm blind. So I have to be, because I can't just look where I'm going. I have to remember. And so that's like a skill that I have that I bring to the relationship that maybe previous partners or friends have made you feel bad about, that instead I'm like, oh, not a worry, I'll do it.
Yeah, it's actually a double win because not only do you not make me feel bad about it, but you also help and make it easier. So it's both things.
And my disability is the reason I make it easier.
Literally, exactly. Okay, this is like the final comment, which is the thing I find the most awful of everything we've read so far.
Oh no.
But our outrage is going to be entertaining. This person says, it's funny that literal cripples get more action than me, but otherwise I don't think anything of it at all, to be honest. And that has 12 upvotes.
Okay. Says a lot about you.
Exactly.
Just says a lot about you. Again,
it's like maybe no one wants to get with you because they're so
you're
appalled by your personality is awful.
Literally. Like,
do you wonder why the disabled person can get more action?
That's what I always say. It's like, People act like my blindness is like the most unappealing thing next to death. Like death is more desirable than being blind like me. I get that comment all the time. And so I know how like lowly people think of my existence as a disabled person. And so when I get those comments that are like, and she can get a man and she can get a boyfriend, why can't I get somebody if she can? It's like, well, maybe I'm funnier. Maybe I'm kinder. Maybe I'm more optimistic. Maybe these are attractive traits. And maybe
that
you're
person is just
a
fugly.
jerk. Maybe you're rude. Maybe,
Yeah.
like, seems like you are.
Yeah.
Disabled people can have a myriad of incredible qualities that non-disabled people may not possess, and vice versa. So disability is often not as important when it comes to dating as people think it is.
Okay, that's everything.
All right, that is another reacting to Reddit video. Elton is hungry monkey.
Oh, that's
I
why
know.
he's giving
You're
us that.
hungry monkey.
It's still a half hour until your dinner time.
Yeah, it's literally too early, so
No, it's a half hour.
calm down. But you know, we call it the witching hour, like the hour pre-dinner. He gets so hungry and so insistent. So we're gonna get ready for our double date. I'm gonna feed Melton Man, and we'll see you next time. Let me know if there's other Reddit threads or stories in particular that you'd like to see me react to. And until then, you can click over here to see my first Reddit reaction video, or over here to see me do a challenge where I went to 5 different fast food restaurants to see which had the most accessible ordering kiosk. Bye!